Tonight is actually very, very pertinent to our time now, right? Which is the 3 weeks. Destruction of Beit HaMikdash happened on Tisha B'Av, which is on Shabbat, this coming Shabbat. And they say the Chazal that the reason that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, the second Beit HaMikdash, was because of Sinat Chinam, because of senseless hatred. We have to understand what that means, by the way, but if you just want to know, that's how does that tie into our story over here, our narrative? Because it says in the Zohar Kadosh that the whole problem with Yosef and his brothers was Sinat Chinam. That's what it was. This was the sin that was between the brothers. But we have to understand how could that be? All the brothers were tzaddikim, all the brothers were hasidim, all the brothers were chachamim. How can they have Sinat Chinam been between them? Right? It says in the pasuk. It says right, Al tisna avicha et bilvavecha. It says in the Torah, don't hate your brother in your heart. So how can it be that the brothers, they didn't know this pasuk? They didn't know about the Torah. They didn't know. You're not supposed to hate your brother. They were really brothers, right? So how is it that they had Sinat Chinam? We have to understand that. It's a very deep concept over here. So let's get started and we'll try to understand, right? First of all, we have to know one thing. That the brothers over here, they had a very big problem with Yosef. As we described last week, that Yosef HaTzadik spoke about them Lashon Hara. And this Lashon Hara led to a problem with the brothers. They got the very wrong idea over here. They didn't realize that Yosef HaTzadik was saying the Lashon Hara, L'Shem Shamayim, for the sake of mitzvah. Why? To improve their behavior, to improve their... To make them better people, to make them better Jews. That was his intention. Even though, as we said right last week, that there was a mistake over here. He didn't understand exactly what their intentions were. He didn't understand what their kavanah, right? Their concentration, their concentration over here, their intentions, which were much more lofty level than he understood. But anyway, the point was that since he came and spoke Lashon Hara about them, the brothers heard this, right? All this Lashon Hara that he was speaking to their father about them. And they got exactly the wrong idea. Coupled with all the other things, right? The dreams that he said about them, and the special coat that his father bought him. This caused a lot of jealousy, a lot of hatred, so forth and so on. So what happened was that, they got together. As it says in the pasuk over here, right? It says, Vayelchu echav lirot et tzon avihem b'Shechem. So it says, right, that they went to graze the sheep of their father in a place called Shechem, right? Shechem. We already discussed a few weeks ago about Shechem, what happened over there, right? That Dinah over there was abducted and raped by this guy. So the Chazal say, by the way, that we see that there's a string of events, bad events that occurred in Shechem. The first thing was the rape of Dinah was there, the abduction. Then we have this story over here we're going to see now, right? The selling of Yosef. The sale of Yosef also was in Shechem. And also then we see later on in history another bad thing that happened in Shechem. That what? That the Malchut of Bet David, the kingdom of King David, was broken up, was split up over there also in Shechem. Same thing happened over there. So 3 bad things we see that happened in Shechem. So the Chazal tell us, we see from there that Shechem is an unlucky place. It has a destiny of having all kinds of bad tragedies over there happening. That's what we see, right? As we also know, by the way, right, the Tisha B'Av is an unlucky time also. It's right? There's a lot of tragedies that occur on Tisha B'Av. So just like you have places which are unlucky, like Shechem, also there are times which are unlucky, like Tisha B'Av also, right? Unfortunate times. This is something which the Torah acknowledges, these concepts. Anyway, getting back to what we're saying, what happened was that the brothers, once they heard that Yosef HaTzadik was speaking Lashon Hara about them, and all these things, the favoritism that the father was displaying towards Yosef, caused them to have a meeting over there. That's why they went over there. It says over there, right, that they went to graze their father's sheep. But this was just an excuse. What they really wanted to do over there was to sit and have a discussion, right? A meeting about what to do about their brother, who they thought, right, has become their enemy, basically. That's how they identified his intentions. What does that mean? What did they really think? Their thought was like this. They said, you know what? This guy, look at what he's doing to us, right? Speaking Lashon Hara, discrediting us, making us look bad, trying to take the leadership of the family, usurp the leadership, leave us in the background as we're like second class. All these things, they say, they identified all these symptoms, and they said, you know what? The conclusion was like this. They concluded that our brother, Yosef, is trying to kick us out of the family, basically, to make us like unworthy members of the family. So we should be thrown out, ejected from the family, and we shouldn't get inheritance, we shouldn't get any status, we lose all our rights or our privileges. Everything is down the tubes. That's the. They thought that he wanted to get them out of the family. Gardon or Jachidan. Gadagdon. That's what they Gadagdeva. That's how they identified his intentions. Even though this was a mistake, by the way, because really his intention was actually good. But the problem was the way he performed his intentions, the way he carried them out, were not really, as we said, right, were not really proper, as we spoke about last week. So what happened was that the brothers now identified him as an enemy. So what does that mean? This also has a practical difference in halakha. This is called, right, in halakha, you know what we call this? Rodef. You know what that means, rodef? It means somebody who's chasing after you to cause you harm, or to kill you, or to cause you some kind of a big downfall, some kind of a mortal harm, all kinds of things like this. This is what they thought of him, and they thought that he was out to get them, to destroy them. So what does that mean? This has a practical difference in halakha. What's the practical difference? That a person like this, you're allowed to kill him. It says, right? Haba leorgecha, hakam leorgecha, ashkem leorgo. What does that mean? If somebody comes to kill you, kill him first. Get up and kill him. Defend yourself. Just can't stand idly by and let somebody kill you. Not like they say, right? Those people, turn the other cheek. Well, what turn the other cheek? You should what? You let them kill you? That's how it is? No, it's not like that. You have to defend yourself. Your life is no less important than his, right? So if it comes to a struggle between you and him, you got to defend yourself first. That's the way it is. So therefore, they said, right, this guy is out to get us. He's out to destroy us. So therefore, the only solution we have is to kill him. They judged him as a rodef, as a pursuer, somebody who's pursuing you to kill you. So therefore, they devised now a way to kill Yosef, right? To assassinate him, to get him out of the picture, right? Rub him out. So this was all according to halakha. Halachic discussion, according to Jewish law, they decide this. These guys were rabbis, you understand? They were big rabbis. They didn't just do things, because some whim, something in your heart or something, just all of a sudden something comes into your head and you jump. No, they had a very deep discussion over here. Not only that, by the way. So they decided at this meeting that they were going to kill their brother. That's the number one. Number two, there's also another thing, right? That they decided to do. Which was, they call that the insurance policy, right? They did also insurance policy. What's the insurance policy? You know how the FBI talks about that, right? So the insurance policy was like this: we're going to kill our brother, but in order to avert or to avoid any damage to our father's, psychology, that he shouldn't be hurt by this, or he shouldn't be shattered, destroyed. He shouldn't be he shouldn't be knocked out by this whole tragedy. So therefore, they decided, as a bet din, as a court, they convened a court over here. This was a court. What was their decision? Their decision was, we're going to hide this from our father. We're not going to notify him that we killed him. It's going to be our secret, in order to avoid any psychological damage to our father. He shouldn't go lose his mind. So therefore, what they did was they made an oath between them, right? Shvu'ah. Taipitzes, that nobody's gonna reveal this matter. Yes, it's gonna be a secret matter, right? Confidential, classified. Nobody reveals. Not only that, right? This is now something even bigger, which we can't do this kind of thing. But they were big enough. They were big people. These people, they say, right, that the sons of Yaakov were so big that there was many generations for hundreds and thousands of years until there was 10 people that big in one generation. That's what they say, right? So they were very big people. You know what they say, right? Until came Rabbi Akiva and his friends in the times of the Second Temple, when the Second Temple was destroyed. They didn't have, from that generation to that generation, which we're talking about 1,000 years roughly, right? They didn't have 10 people in the generation that were so big like that. Such big rabbis.
was
Right.
equal.
That great, exactly. They had one people, 2 or 3 they had, but not 10 people like that. They didn't have. So they say, right, that what? That they, because they were so great, they even combined to this oath God Himself. Kamshini. You understand? They were able to get God also in this oath. What is that? It's an amazing thing. Can we do such a thing like that? We can't do that, but they did that. What does that mean? That they put God in the oath as well, that He shouldn't also reveal anything to anybody. And God agreed to this. Can you imagine such a thing like that? Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, agreed to this oath. They put Him in there. You have to be a big man to do this. You understand? This is not a regular person. Yeah, exactly. He wasn't part of the conspiracy. Can you imagine such a thing like that? You know, can you imagine? They forced him to be in there. And by the way, this requires, some explanation, because how can you force God to do anything? Right? How can you force God to do? What? You're the boss. He's the boss. He created you. You created him. What? What's going on over here? Right? Who created who? Who's the boss? Who's the slave? So you know what the answer is, Rabotai.
They conspired and they made the God witness.
Yes.
Obviously, God is witness. We are sitting now.
So the thing is like this, right? That what's the answer, really, according to this question? The answer is I can give you a simple answer. Maybe there's more also deeper answers, but just a simple answer, very simple. You know what it is? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu also agreed to this Himself. He had no problem with this. That's the whole thing. Exactly. That was a part of the master plan. It was a part of the master plan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was the one, even though, in other words, now we have to understand what that means, right? As we said, the brothers over here made a mistake. This was sinat chinam. This was senseless hatred. We're going to understand why that is, right? But they had a reason to hate him. It wasn't for no reason. It wasn't sinat chinam. How can it be tell you that's a senseless hatred? We'll have to explain that. But I want to tell you before that, right? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually, He didn't agree with what they did. In other words, that they sold him as a conspirator, some kind of a rodef, right, pursuer. That He didn't agree with that. But the fact that He had to go to Egypt and be there, that He agreed with. That was His plan. So, there's 2 different things, right? We have two layers over here, 2 stages, right? 2 layers. Yeah, 2 different things. But with the fact that he should be there in Egypt by himself, and he should do what he has to do over there, and the fact that his father shouldn't know about it, with this he agreed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He agreed.
God has plans for him.
Yeah, He had plans for him. Yeah, exactly. So that's why they were able to bring him into this oath. Why? Because he also agreed. If he didn't agree, he wouldn't have been able to. They wouldn't have been able to do this, right? That's the simple way to understand. So this whole idea. Anyway, Rabotai, we see from here, by the way, we have to understand, right? We're talking now about the times of the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. Sinat Chinam, that was the reason why. So, question is, what is Sinat Chinam, right? Literally, the 2 words mean that you hate somebody for no reason, free, for free, no charge. I hate you for free, no charge. I don't charge you for that, right? What is that? What does that mean? How can a person hate somebody for no reason? Did you ever hate somebody for no reason?
Yeah, if you feel threatened by them.
So there is a reason. You feel threatened, right? Just like they felt threatened also.
Smarter or richer.
Right.
Or
Yes.
better.
So they also felt threatened. That was the whole thing, right? That's exactly the point.
Nothing in this world is without consequence. So everything has some sort of basis.
Yeah, you're right. So okay.
Supernatural.
So question is, I want to ask you a fundamental question: how can a person hate somebody for no reason?
They can't.
So then, what does it mean, sinat chinam?
There's some underlying subconscious reason.
Oh, there you go, right? Okay. So the truth is, right, that to understand this concept of sinat chinam on a halachic, level, there's also halakha here. It says, right, don't hate your brother in your heart. Al tisneh achicha bilvabecha. That's what the pasuk says. The verse says in the Chumash. You're not allowed to hate your brother. So, question is then, what does that mean, sinat chinam? For no reason you hate the person? How can you hate a person for no reason? So it says, jealous, yeah, but so there is a reason, right? You're jealous, right, exactly. Okay, so that's it, you're right. There's jealousy, you're right, that's absolutely...
in a natural context, to hate somebody with no base?
So you know what it is? The answer is, Rabotai, that it's not the simple meaning of the word here, right? The phrase here, sinat chinam, hatred for no reason. That's not really the bottom line here. That's not really the explanation. So then what is the explanation? The explanation is, you hate him, there is a reason, obviously. But that reason is not justified. According to halacha, according to Jewish law, you cannot hate a person for that reason. That's what it means, sinat chinam. You hate him, you have a reason? Yeah, but that reason is considered to be zero. It's not a good reason.
But
So it's like you do hate him for no reason.
But for him, it's a good enough reason.
Right, but for Hashem it's not good enough. Yeah. For God it's not good, right? We don't go according to our thoughts, you have to go according to Hashem's laws, right? Not our laws. We can't make up our own
So if
laws.
he hates somebody because of jealousy, subconsciously, because somebody else also did something bad to him,
Right.
has no base. But if he hates him because he's jealous of him, because he did something to him, there's a base.
Oh, so let's discuss
Because
that, right?
halacha always comes down to what can we hold.
Right. Let's discuss that, right? So exactly, what does it mean? Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
There is one version that you maybe see someone that you know in your community, or in past, somehow you got involved with him, you met him. So now, all of a sudden you hear about him good things, right? Successful things. And it's up to you now to follow him, to try to do on your own something, to have it as a sample, as an example, this guy, successful, and to try to follow him.
Yes.
To do it yourself, study and do better and better, and B, you have a reason why you can go on his examples, so in other words, on his footsteps.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the right way to do it. What you're saying is the proper way, right? But unfortunately, the brothers didn't do it this way, right? Unfortunately, they didn't.
Sometimes they make it because they don't have education.
So you're saying that
Education.
it was baseless according to the halacha.
Right. So let's discuss what that means, Rabotai. We have to understand what this means. Okay? It says in the Gemara that there's only one reason a person is allowed to hate his fellow Jew. Only one reason. Any other reason is not good enough. You know what that reason is? Because he's a sinner. Because he's a Rasha. Ubeduria. Yeah? Ubeduri Sertiya. If he's Ubeduri, Rasha, so the question is what? There's two opinions in the Gemara, right? One says if he's a Rasha, you're allowed to hate him. If he's a Rasha, Ubeduri. Sinner, right?
If he's a Rasha, he is allowed to.
There's another opinion that says that what? It's a mitzvah to hate him even. Mitzvario. That's two opinions in the Gemara. What's halacha? Like the first opinion, second opinion. The Rambam and Shulchan Aruch, they see like the second opinion. That what? It's a mitzvah to hate that person. If he's a Rasha. Understand? So now, the thing is like this, right? Now we understand a little bit better the intention of the brothers over here. The brothers, what? They didn't know this halacha, they knew very well. So then what's the story? The story was what? They considered Yosef HaTzadik to be a sinner now, because he was chasing after them, Rodef. He was pursuing after them.
They felt threatened by him.
Exactly. They thought he was they were trying to assassinate, they get rid of them. So therefore, they considered him to be a sinner. And therefore, they saw justified to hate the person, right? So that's really the only reason a person is now, as opposed to what? All the other reasons are not good enough. What does that mean? If you have like some kind of personal, can't get along with the guy for some reason, dissonance, doesn't you can't mesh together. That's not good enough to hate somebody, right? Something personal like that.
How come all the brothers go against him and they pick one path? Why didn't they? Was there anything like?
Yes, there was dissension.
They got
Machloket.
They split about the idea.
Yeah, they deliberated about it, and this was their decision at first, right? And then we're going to see, right, that it changed a little bit, right? But at first, the decision was that he has to be killed, right? He's liable to death.
Yeah,
Pursuer, right? Rodef.
Said not to. Yeah.
Okay. Conspiracy, right? Conspirator. So now, the thing is like this, right? What can't you hate a person for? You cannot hate him for personal reasons. For some reason you don't get along, doesn't go too well between you. Or let's say you don't like the guy the way he dresses. You don't like his stuff. You don't like his accent. You don't like his attitude. He talks too loud. He's too rude. Whatever. All kinds of things like this. Something which is just personal. Nothing. It's not really as a sinner. This person. It's something just mild. Or let's say you don't have similar views, right, about politics. Right. This one likes Trump. This one likes the other guy rather the other. For that you should hate somebody because this one is a Democrat, this one is a Republican. That we don't have any permission to hate somebody for these reasons.
Torah says hate, or they might mean dislike also.
It's really the same thing, because once you don't like the person, that means you hate him,
Let's eliminate the
yeah.
word hate and stick the word dislike.
Well, it's dislike is basically a mild form of hate. That's what I would say, right?
There's a big difference.
Yeah, but there's different degrees. You can hate him a lot, you can hate him a little bit, but still it's hatred. You know what I mean? That's still called hatred, right? Yeah.
Dislike.
No, but that's the word, right? That it was used in the Torah. Sinah means hatred.
I don't like, I hypothetically speaking, okay? I don't hate this guy, but I don't like the way he sits.
Right.
I don't
no,
hate it.
if you-
He
right.
doesn't hate me, but he doesn't like my torn jeans.
Right, but if you don't like,
That's the difference.
no, so if you don't like his behavior, right? Let's say,
It's not hatred.
but personally you don't have anything against him. That's not called hatred.
So that's dislike.
But hatred means that because you don't like the way he dresses, you also don't like him. Also, you take it personally. In other words, it's something personal. That's already hatred, right? That goes a step further.
Hatred means I want to choke him.
Doesn't have to actually lead to violence. By the way, it could be something also passive. Because really, hatred is in the heart. It's not really a deed. It's not in the hands. Hatred.
Eventually it comes out.
It could be. Yes. Could be. Yes. Could be no. Could be that it'll never come out. But the point is, right, that whether it comes out or not, if you hate him in your heart, because it says in the pasuk what? It doesn't say with your hands. Al tisneh achicha bilvavecha, in your heart it says. It doesn't say with your hands. Right? If you hate him in your heart, that's called hatred. So the point is, Rabbatai, that the brothers over here, they made a mistake. And this was, by the way, a mistake that a big rabbi makes, this kind of mistake. This is not a mistake of a small person. Why? Because they judged him as a rodef, as somebody who was conspiring against them. But the truth was, right, if you really looked at the depth of this whole situation, this was a very big mistake. Why is that? He wasn't conspiring against them. He wasn't trying to discredit them. He wasn't trying to throw them out of the family. This was not his intention. His intention was to improve their behavior.
Jealousy.
He wanted to improve their behavior. He wanted to make them better Jews. That's all.
From the beginning,
Yeah.
they were jealous of him because
Sure, they were jealous for several reasons, yes. Right.
His father
Yes.
more than the others.
Yes, there were three reasons, right, basically, that they hated him. Because of the favoritism from the father, and from the dreams that he told them, right, all these things, and also because of the Lashon Hara that he spoke about them.
But the father-
These were the three reasons that contributed to the situation.
The father loved him more for a reason also.
That's true, right? We discussed last week, by the way, that if the person could be that a person loves one child more than the other, but he can't show that outwardly. That's already considered to be a sin. You're causing harm to the child by showing outwardly that you hate. You like this one more than the other one, right? Showing favoritism. It's a very bad thing to do. Anyway, the point is, Rabbatai, that the brothers over here had a mistaken conclusion, which was what? He hates us. He's trying to discredit us. He's trying to throw us out of the family. But the truth was not like that. So what does that mean? That means that even though these were big rabbis, the biggest people of the generation, 10 people that we had for 1,000 years, nevertheless they made a mistake. Can you imagine? You see from here several things, by the way. One thing is you see that anybody can make a mistake, even if you're a big rabbi. Don't think that you're like immune to mistaking. What makes you think, you got a big beard and this, and you sit in yeshiva for 50 years, you learned. So what does that mean? You can't make a mistake? No, it doesn't mean that. You could make a mistake. You have to be very careful what you say. That's why it says in Pirkei Avot, right? It says in the Ethics of the Fathers, havu matun bedin, but metunim. What does that mean? When you judge something as a rabbi or as a judge, dayan, you have to be very careful. The way you deliberate. Don't let personal things get involved. Emotional things, personal things, all kinds of biases, all these kinds of things, Once you start getting into this, you're going with Strzok and Lisa Page. That's where you're going. You're going over there. That's not a good place to be, right? You understand? When you become biased and you have hatred in your heart, you hate this person, that person. This person is a tragedy. He'll destroy the country. Who told you he'll destroy the country? Why do you hate him so much? What makes you think he's going to destroy everything? It's the hatred in your heart that you have for the person. That's the whole idea. So it says in Zohar Kadosh that since their claim was over here of the brothers was not correct, it was a mistake. What caused this? As our friend said, right? It was jealousy. It says in the Chazal, "Kashe kina shemevi l'sina." What does that mean? That jealousy is very bad. You know why? Because it brings to hatred. It's one step after the other, right? First comes jealousy, because that person has something that you don't have, whatever it is, financially, spiritually, whatever. He's better than you in some way, Right? So you get jealous of him, and then hatred in the heart comes from there, stems from there, as our friend said. And then after that, right, you can also lead to other things, right? As our friend said, right, that Jimmy, he said, right, you can start now, give him also a wallop. You can wallop the guy, you can kill him, you can, go and squeal on him, to the government, to the authorities, get him arrested, right? All kinds of things, Moser, all kinds of things. People do that, by the way. When you hate your fellow man, you hate him so much, you go, to the authorities and, tell them about, he evaded taxes, go to the IRS, that's the way it is. A person can come to the biggest sins because of this, and this is exactly what happened to the brothers.
Sorry, 1 minute.
That's what happened exactly with the brothers. They came to this mistake. The biggest rabbis, can you imagine? So, if they can do this kind of mistake, all the more so, right? We have how much careful we have to be ourselves that we shouldn't come to this kind of mistake. A person has to know, right, that this sin of hatred, it's a very tricky thing. Why? Because a person always thinks, if I hate this guy, I have a good reason and I'm allowed to. This guy's my enemy, ubeduria, area, this, that, everything, blah, blah, blah. In your heart, you get all these things, and all of a sudden, it has all kinds of repercussions. It has all kinds of consequences, this thing. And this is exactly why we're in Galut. Say the Chazal that a person has to be very careful about Sinat Chinam. Sinat Chinam is a very dangerous thing. Why? Because since it's in the heart and it's hidden, people may not even know that you hate that person or you hate him. They don't even know. It's something that's hidden and it's always coming up all the time in your head. All the time. So it's a sin which is constantly going on, like in your head. They say, by the way, that because of this, Sinat Chinam, in a sense, is worse than murder. You know why? Because murder is very bad, obviously, right? Person who murders, needs a very, very big atonement for that. But at least one thing, murder is better than Sinat Chinam. You know why? Because murder is like one shot. You kill him, and that's it, you're done. That's it, right? Finished. Now you go on. But this is in your head all the time, constantly. So it's a constant sin, recurring, that never stops. And that's why they say, right, the Chazal, that sometimes the sin with the thought is worse than the sin with the hands. This is much worse, because it's just constantly going on all the time. Never stops. So this is a very, very, very dangerous thing. So what happened was that the brothers, they judged him like this. It was a mistake. And by the way, you should know that this mistake cost them and the family and the world a very, very, very big consequence, right? Big problems, big punishments. They say the Chazal that when they sold Yosef HaTzadik, you know what happened, right? That there were 7 years of famine because of that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought famine to the world because of what they did. Can you imagine? All the world had famine because the sale of their brother. Why is that, by the way? It's not anybody, this person, right? Their brother was Talmid Chacham, big rabbi, big tzaddik. A person like this, you do him injustice like this, This can destroy the whole world. It has ramifications for the whole world, this kind of thing.
But this famine made Yosef HaTzadik who he is now.
Absolutely. But that wasn't their intention, you know what I mean? That's the problem.
Well, you have to leave
this is the way it came about, right? But it wasn't their intention, so therefore they don't get credit for that. Right? It's not like they did a mitzvah,
different way, basically.
I'm not saying they did a mitzvah, but it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu's plan.
Absolutely. But nevertheless, right, you know what they say, right?
So he put the thought in the brothers to hate him.
Well, we can't blame it on Hashem. We can't blame it on Hashem, because a person can only...
I know what you're saying.
A person cannot blame God for his sin. He has to blame himself, because he is the one who, I'll tell you, I'll give you a small example of what that means. Right? Sometimes a person is judged on Rosh Hashanah that this year, God forbid, is going to be killed, Nidai Bok, he's going to be killed. So now the question is, who's going to kill him, right? So there are many crazy people out there, right? We have this guy in Las Vegas, we have this guy in Florida, right? All kinds of nutcases. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has many, many crazy people to kill people. He has a list of people, you can take this one, there's nutcase over here, nutcase over there. So now the question is like this, right? If you come and kill that person, so you're liable to death. You can't say, but he was destined to die. But why did you have to be the one who was to be the messenger? That's the question, right? They judge him on that. Right? You had to be the messenger? No. Who told you? You chose yourself. That's your problem. Right? So we punish you too. Yeah, you fulfill the destiny of God. Thank you very much. But who told you to do it? Right? It's your problem. So therefore, liable to death, person like that, right? Kill somebody, he's also liable to death. A person who murders, he's liable to death. So that's exactly what happened over here. Not only that, by the way, Rabotai, we have to see, right, over here, that it was even worse than that. The brothers themselves were also punished because of this. Especially who? Especially his brother Yehuda, right? Why was Yehuda punished more than the other brothers? Because Yehuda was the leader of the brothers. He was a king, right, of the brothers. He was like the smartest and most. He had that leadership qualities, right, distinguished, whatever. So because of that, it was really his decision. If he would have objected to this, they would have listened to him. They followed him. He was the leader; they were followers.
He was.
You know what I mean? So therefore, he was blamed more than everybody else. He had to take the grunt of the responsibility.
But
over
in
here.
that case, the older brother who said, "Let's not kill him, let's sell him," did he get anything on the other side?
So we're going to discuss, right, all this situation. I want to first just discuss about Yehuda, right? What happened with Yehuda? Because Yehuda was the one who finally decided, right, that they should sell the brother. And by the way, what happened was that the initial plan was to kill him. And then comes Yehuda and says to the brothers, right, at the last minute, you know what, he says, there's really no gain to kill our brother, what's the gain? What do I mean by gain? What do you gain by killing somebody, right? What did you mean by that? What he meant to say was, can you imagine this? This is what was intention. There's no money, there's no profit for it. We're not going to profit anything, right? We're not going to make any percentages on that by killing him.
Sell him.
This was his idea.
Alright, but then they tried to kill him when they threw him in a dungeon.
Yeah, explain to you now. We're going to explain this whole thing, right? So he tells them like this, right? There's no gain, there's no profit. So therefore he said, you know what? Let's sell him because at least we'll get some money.
Just to get money.
Oh wow!
And so right, not only
Intention was worse.
right, oh yeah, not only that, but he said, you know what? He said also another thing, which came to his credit, by the way, which was what he told the brothers. He says, you know what? In the end, right? Bottom line, he's our brother. He's our flesh and blood. Yeah. How can we kill him?
Just we sell him, so
How can we kill him? It's not right to do
we
that.
feel less guilty.
So Yehuda was really the one who got him off the hook over here. Otherwise he would have died if he wouldn't have said this. So what they did was like this, right? Yehuda said, you know what? Let's just sell him. We'll make some money. It's good. We got take money in the pocket, in the wallet, right? Go home with some cash. Why not? And also he's our brother. Let's see what's gonna be with him, right? Let God decide what's gonna be with him. Let him decide. We don't have to be the ones to carry out. And by the way, before this, so what happened was that Yehuda, because he was the one responsible for this in the end, even though he let him off the hook a little bit, halfway he let him go, right? Halfway, but not all the way. He should have let him go all the way. He should have had, right, the wisdom. He should have had the sechel, the understanding, the IQ. Should have had to just let him go off altogether, and they would have listened to him. So what happened was that since he didn't, so what happened to Yehuda? Yehuda gave consequences on this, right? He bore consequences. What was the consequences? 2 of his sons died. Yeah? 2 sons got killed. So, nobody gets off for free when you do this kind of thing. What do you think? You do this kind of thing to somebody, gakide, zmagakide, gadagde, throw them away in the garbage. Who's going to forgive you for this kind of thing? What do you think? He's going to tuck it under the rug, right? Under the granite floor over here. What are you going to do?
Goes around, comes around.
Comes around. Yeah, that's it.
You don't have
So Yehuda over here lost 2 sons. As we're going to see later on, by the way, why that happened. It doesn't really matter why, because the point was that it was a punishment for his sin over here. He was the one held responsible for this. On the other hand, by the way, you see from here, by the way, an amazing thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't forget any detail about anything. What does that mean? That because in the end he decided to sell him, he punished him, lost 2 sons. On the other hand, though, because he decided not to kill him, he was also rewarded for that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu rewards you for the good and also punishes you for the bad. One doesn't, take out the other. Doesn't remove the other. Everything is separate. Everything is judged by itself. What was the reward that he got, by the way, that he didn't sell his brother? he didn't kill his brother. You know the reward? He became the king. Kadosh Baruch Hu made him the Malchut, kingdom in Israel, gave to Yehuda. Why? Because he decided not to kill his brother. He said, you know what? In the end, you let him off, so you're going to become the king. That was
took over Reuben's position as the head of the brothers.
Yes, we're going to discuss that, by the way. What happened with Reuben over here? Because Reuben also was involved in this whole thing, right? Now we have to discuss also the role of Reuben. Because Reuben over here, we have to understand what his role was. Reuben was the firstborn, right? He was the oldest brother. So therefore, he himself was very worried about this whole thing. Why was he worried? He said, you know what? If we do this, who's going to be blamed? Me. I'm the older brother. I'm responsible for everything. You know? I'm going to get punished. I'm going to get third degree over here. I'm going to be burnt. I'm going to be the sacrificial lamb. It's going to be me. So therefore, he tried to convince the brothers, let him off, you know, let him go. Yeah, let him go. He tried to convince them. They wouldn't listen to him, by the way. Because he was not as strong as Yehuda. Yehuda was much stronger, much more convincing. He was much more of a leader. Reuven didn't have the strength of character that Yehuda had. He didn't have that strength. He wasn't so strong. He wasn't so convincing. He wasn't so clever also like Yehuda. Yehuda was much more clever than him, So what happened was that Reuven tried to do like this, right? He said to the brothers, you know what? Just don't kill him. You know what? Just throw. They had found a pit over there, right? There was a pit. They said, you know what? Just throw him into the pit and let him just be there and let God take care of him. Whatever happens, happens. That's what Reuven told them, right? And what happened was that Reuven, at that time, when they actually sold Yosef, was not there. Why is that? There's two opinions, by the way, why he wasn't there at that time. One says, right, that was his day. They took turns, days of the week, to take care of their father, who was already an old man. So each brother took one day, right, to take care of serve the father. And the other ones were out in the field working, right, like everybody else. So what happened was that was Reuven's turn that day to serve the father, and therefore he wasn't there that day. So what he tried to do was, he knew that he wasn't going to be there, so he told them, you know what, don't kill him, just throw him into the pit. His intention was like this, right? He said, you know what, they'll throw him in the pit, and then I'll come and I'll take him out of there. Once I finish my job with my father, I'll come back. After a few hours, I'll yank him out. Put down a rope, right? Take him out of there. That was his intention. What happened was like this, right? This didn't work out. Why is that? Because the brothers now, because of Yehuda, decided to sell him. Right? So he didn't stay there. They threw him in the pit, just temporarily, right? Until they found a buyer, right? A customer. Right? And once they found a customer,
so while Yosef was in the pit, they were looking for a buyer.
Customer, right, exactly, right. Not only that, by the way, the amazing thing is that what? They say that they threw Yosef, the cruelty over here, right? Which is what? They threw Yosef into the pit and they were having a banquet, you understand? While he was in the pit, they had a seudah, but can you imagine such a thing like this?
In the pit there were snakes and...
Scorpions, exactly, yes.
What was his reward and punishment?
So the thing is like this, right? That Reuven really, over here, because of the weakness of his character, wasn't able to do the job. He didn't have the position, he didn't have the status in the family to do this job. But Hashem knew what was in his heart, so therefore he was, obviously much more absolved than the other brothers because he objected as much as he could. So therefore, obviously, he was much more clean than the other brothers when it comes to this. This whole thing. So what happens now is like this, right? They throw him into the pit, and over there, as we said, right, that there was over there scorpions and snakes. It was a dangerous place to be. It's poisonous, snakes and scorpions. So what happened was that Kadosh Baruch Hu, because Yosef was a tzaddik, guarded him over there. They didn't touch him. They weren't able to do anything to him. So what happened was, right, that came now a band, right, some travelers, wayfarers, came. These people were like business people, traveling from one place, selling, right? But Arabs, exactly, Ishmaelim, right, exactly, yes. So they came and and they saw Yosef HaTzadik, right, that they're selling him. They stopped by. So they, the brothers tell them, oh, you want to buy? We have a slave over here. They didn't tell him it's a brother. So they take a look, down there, in the pit. They say, "This is a slave." He says, "He looks like a master." He says, "He looks like you." He says, "You look like they're his slaves. He looks better than you." So I told him, I go, "What are you talking about? This guy's a slave? You got to be joking. He looks like a king."
Good looking.
So they didn't believe it at first, but they said, "No, he's a slave." So in the end, what happened was that they sold him to the Ishmaelim, right? These Arabs, whatever, for 20 pieces of silver coins. And then what happened was, he was sold several times, Yosef. What does that mean? That the brothers sold him to the Ishmaelim, and then came another band of travelers, right? Midianim, different nation. So Midianites, right? Exactly. So they came, and the Ishmaelim sold him to the Midianim. So this was the second sale.
The people of Yitro.
Yes, and then the Midianim took him down to Egypt, traveled down over there, and he was sold again. So he was sold altogether 3 times, right? According to this story. Can you imagine? And all this was punishment because he spoke Lashon Hara about his brothers. Amazing, right? So you see from here that both of them got their share, right? This one got their share, this one got their share. Nobody came out clean over here. This was an amazing tragedy. But anyway, I want to tell you something really amazing, regarding this time of year now, as we said, right? Because of Sinat Chinam. They say, the Chazal, something amazing. If you look, right, at the history of the world, every time you see hatred between brothers or family members, always it leads to one thing. Galut. You know what's Galut? Exile. Everybody gets banished to a different place. Has to move to a different area. Go somewhere else, right? Go to LA, go to, right, whatever, Ashdod, go to whatever, go somewhere else. Where do we see that, by the way? The first time that we see that was, what is the first time that we see hatred in the Bible? It's actually, the truth is, right, it's full with hatred. The Bible. Right, Cain and Abel, you're right. But there's something even before that.
The snake.
Exactly. The snake was jealous of Adam Arishon. He hated him, and therefore he wanted to kill him. That was the first hatred that we had. After that, we had Cain and Hevel, 2 brothers again, hatred, jealousy again, right? Then after that, what did we have?
Abraham, on Noah's time.
We had Ishmael and Yitzchak, right? Ishmael hated Yitzchak, wanted to kill him also, because he was jealous of him. Ishmael, Yitzchak. Then we had Esav and Yaakov, again, same thing, right? Hatred, one brother to the other.
So it's a recurring theme.
Recurring theme, exactly. In the Bible, this is the recurring theme in the Bible. One hates the other. And after that, what did we have?
The brothers.
The brothers, exactly. So all these cases, all of them, we see one thing, right? Galut, exile. When there's hatred, causes the community to split up and exiled. One goes here, scattered. They get scattered all over the place. Where do we see that, by the way? Because, I'm sorry, yeah?
What about, what's his name, Mordechai Tzaddik, who's hated by Haman HaRasha?
Right, but here we're talking about between Jews, right? Or between a family, you understand? Haman was not in the family of Mordechai, right? It was a different family. But the point is, Yes, the point is like this, right? That the snake, because he hated Adam Arishon, what happened? HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent him to Galut. He kicked him out. He was with the people. He was hanging around with the human beings. He was walking upright like a human being. And because I punished him to walk like, to be in the grass, to go on his stomach, sliver around in the ground, he used to be not like that. He used to be erect, just like a human being.
What's the primordial?
So HaKadosh Baruch Hu banished him from the human beings, kicked him out, because of the hatred that he had towards Adam Arishon. Same thing, right? Cain and Hevel, because Cain hated Hevel and killed him, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu caused him to be what? Nav and Nad, right? Banished all the time he had to travel from one place to another. Couldn't stay in one place. Because of the hatred that he had for his brother. Same thing we see with Ishmael and Yitzchak, right? Because Ishmael was jealous of his brother, hated him. So what happened? He was banished from the family, threw him out, right? And they told him, go go where you want to go, get out of here. They threw him out with his mother. Galut. So we see every time there's hatred, there's galut.
The temple's destruction.
You understand? Exactly. Same thing with Yosef and his brothers, right? What happened? Because there was hatred between them, Yosef went to Mitzrayim, and then they all had to go to Mitzrayim in the end, right? They all went. Again, galut. Same thing. Right? So what do we see from there, Rabotai? It's a very, very powerful concept over here. That when there's hatred between community, they have to split up. There's no way to stay together anymore. Can you imagine how destructive it is, right? Sinat Chinam? That it totally destroys the fabric of the community. Cannot stay together. It's an unbelievable thing. And by the way, you should know that this is exactly what we see today. Where? Here in our country. The hatred is so severe right now. This is something which I never saw, by the way, in my life. Such severe hatred that there is, right? It leads to violence. It leads to all kinds of terrible, terrible things which are going on, right? Conspiracies, all kinds of violence, all kinds of plans to kill this one, to kill that one, to take care of him, take care of that. Hatred destroys every society, without any exception. But do you know what they say? As the sages tell us, by the way, there's a halacha. You know, we discussed this before. There's a halacha, a very strange halacha, right? Esav sonel Yaakov. It says Esav hates Yaakov. That's a halacha. What does that mean, the halacha? That means that Esav will always hate Yaakov until the end of time, until Mashiach comes. So what does that mean? That means, by the way, now we have to understand this whole...
The whole of Esav?
As a general rule, yes. Except there are some exceptions, right?
Oh, because...
What does that mean? There are people in Esav who do tshuva, they're good people.
There's also...
We spoke about this last week. Yeah, that's for sure, no question about it. There are people from Esav who are good. As we know, right, that there were several very important people from Esav who converted to Judaism.
Yeah.
Right? Who was that? One of the most famous was Antoninus, right? The Caesar.
Yeah.
Who was at the time of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. He converted to Judaism, became a Jew, became a Talmid Chacham, right? He was a big philosopher, this guy. So we see sometimes, right, that there's a good side of Esav, exactly, right? As you know, right? So, but the thing is, right, that there's something to learn from here about time. The Romans, as you know, right, were from Esav. The Roman culture was from Esav. The family of the Romans came from the family of Esav. They say, by the way, that this is exactly what happened in the Second Temple. They say, right, that the biggest sin of the Jews was Sinat Chinam, the Second Temple. And who was ruling over them at that time? Romans. Romans. You understand? So now you understand what the whole story. The whole concept of Esav is hatred. He hates his brother Yaakov. They hate each other also. They can't get along.
Yaakov hates Esav too?
No, not necessarily. Yaakov never hated Esav. But you know what it is? Because Esav has a culture of hatred.
The Jews don't hate the Christians.
No, we don't hate the Goyim. We don't hate them.
The Catholic Church, they hate the Jews.
That's for sure. It's an anti-Semitic institution. No question about that. But what I want to tell you, Rabbatai, is that the Romans were from Esav. And they were, because of that, they had a culture of hatred in their society. Just like we see today, by the way. Same culture over here.
Amongst themselves, you're saying?
Yes.
Dissension.
Culture, yes, exactly. Hatred, animosity, right, exactly. So what happened was like this, right? That's the Chazal say. Why is it, when you see a certain nation that rules over the Jews, you should know, obviously, because some Jews have some kind of a sin that is happening, that they're ruling over us. There's some kind of sin there. So they say, right, if you want to know what the sin is, you know how you can tell?
Which nation rules?
Exactly. Which nation rules over you? Look at their nature, right? If you see the nature of the nation that rules over you, then you know what your sin is. Because just like they are, that's what you are. You understand? So the whole thing was, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring the Romans to rule over the Jews? Because that was their sin also. Hatred was their sin. And this is exactly what, they got measure for measure, you understand? What goes around comes around, as you said. That's exactly the point. Because the Roman culture is all about hatred, and this kind of culture, so because of that, since the Jews also started to have this hatred, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought the Romans to rule over them, to say, you see, you're just like them. You're not any better. And that's exactly why the Romans destroyed the second Beit HaMikdash. You know why? Because the sin was like the Romans, of hatred. That was the whole thing.
And when the Jews were doing idol worship, Sancherib came.
Exactly.
Idol worship.
Exactly. So, we have to understand something very important from the Rabbatai. This is an amazing, amazing concept. You know what they say, right? That the brothers that sold Yosef, HaKadosh Baruch Hu couldn't even punish them totally for their sin in that lifetime. You know why? he couldn't give them the total punishment that they deserved. It wasn't possible. Amazing thing, right? What's the reason why? The reason was because they were such big tzaddikim, and they had also the zchut avot, right, their father, right? He was a tzaddik. You know? They had big, yeah. So because of that, that was guarding them from receiving their full punishment. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu couldn't punish them. So therefore, what did he do? In order to punish them fully, he brought them back, Gilgul, you know, reincarnation, again. In order to punish them a second time. Where was that? The truth is, right, say the Chazal, that the brothers deserve to die. All of them deserve to die because of that. They should have all died. The only thing that was protecting them was because the zchut of their father. So now, listen to this. Therefore, Kadosh Baruch Hu brought them back again. This time they should all die. Who was that? Rabbi Akiva and his friends, right? The rabbis. There was 10 martyrs over there that were killed by the Romans. They were the reincarnation, the Gilgul of the Shvatim, of the brothers. Kadosh Baruch Hu brought them back again in order to be punished for their sin.
But they were not conscious of this.
They, in the end, they were. They found out. They researched it. Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
have just a very simple, question that one would maybe ask.
Yeah.
What is this question? Coming from what rabbis tell us, by past history of the world, Jewish subject, and this. Today, is possible that someone for future, this is for what we're talking about from past now to today.
Yes.
Now, is it possible? Is it possible?
Yes.
For future reference, that someone from our community, I'm talking about from Jewish diaspora, from Jewish culture, or possible maybe from other culture, someone can be rewarded or someone can be given vision by God. Someone, doesn't matter who, Indian or Chukcha in I don't know where, giving some vision, what is good for mankind's future existence.
That's in the prophecy.
To be harmonious and to fulfill our messages that we are praying and we are doing all this.
I'm going to answer your question. I like this question. I'm just going to finish off this, the story, 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes, I'm going to answer your question, because this is also an important question. I just want to finish off this idea. So I want to tell you guys something interesting, right? That what happened was that Yosef HaTzadik, because they sold him, they had to come back again. Rabbi Akiva and his friends were all reincarnations of the brothers of the Shvatim. And therefore, this is why the Romans killed them. Right? The Romans, the martyrs, the 10 martyrs that they were killed because of the sin of the sale of Yosef. And it says, by the way, now something interesting. Listen to this. What happens is like this, that says the Zohar Kadosh, why is it that the Romans were the ones who killed them? Because since their sin was sinat chinam of the brothers, senseless hatred, so therefore came Esav, right, the Romans from Esav, who were also big haters, and they were the ones who carried out the punishment on the brothers who hated their brother. This is the reason why. Everything was midah keneged midah, measure for measure. Just like they hated their brother, came Esav and killed them who hates his brother, who hates Yaakov. As we said, right, there's a halacha. Esav sonel Yaakov. And what happened was like this, Rabotai, that when the decree was made by the Roman Caesar to kill the 10 martyrs, they came to the brothers and told them, right, that you're gonna be executed, to 10 people. So what happened was that they didn't understand what was going on, as you said, right? They wanted to understand what was the reason behind that. They wanted to know. So what happened was that they did some kind of, now this comes to your question, right? They did some kind of a procedure. They went up to the heavens, right, to ask, what is the reason why they're being killed? Is it something legitimate, or is it something, some kind of haphazard, some kind of crazy thing? Right, exactly, to fight against it. So once they asked upstairs what the reason was, you know what the answer was? Because of the sale of Yosef. This was the reason. Because you are the reincarnations of those brothers who sold Yosef, and you must lose your life because of that. This was the answer.
They accepted it.
They accepted it because they knew that it had to be done. It was a tikkun for them. It was a rectification. It was a tikkun for them. They needed that. They say, by the way, you should know that this punishment for the sale of Yosef, in every generation we see punishment for that.
We're paying for so many.
Yeah, we're paying for exactly. We're paying for the sale of Yosef in every generation. That's how bad it is. And by the way, that's another thing they say. They say that this sin, not only the punishment recurs, but the sin itself also recurs. In other words, there is some kind of sale of Yosef that recurs every generation. That they sell out some Jew, some big rabbi. They threw him out of the community. They do this kind of thing, and this is considered to be like the recurring of sale of Yosef. They threw him out of the community, some rabbi, right? They ejected him. They threw him out without any really good reason. And this is like again comes back to the same concept of the sale of Yosef. So this is considered to be. And by the way, Rabbatai, this is the sinat chinam. I want to get your question, right? Which was also a good question. Now, regarding this, right, today we don't have prophecy anymore. After the second temple was destroyed, prophecy was taken away from us. So we don't have now, we can't go to some prophet and he'll tell us what's going to be the future. Vision. And exactly, there's no vision anymore right now. You know why that is, by the way? There's also a good reason for that. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to adhere to the Torah. He doesn't want us to have an easy route, easy solution by asking a prophet, go and it's going to read it for you, oh, this is going to be like that, it's going to be like, that's too easy. He wants us now to do the hard way, which is what? To have emunah in the Torah, to have emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tamim tihiyeh, it says, right? You have to be perfect. What does that mean? Perfect in your faith in Hashem. Don't look for some soothsayer, some fortune teller, to tell you, coffee, this. He's going to read your coffee, he's going to read this.
Kabbalist?
This is also fake, by the way. You should know all these Kabbalists are fake. You should know most of them big fakers.
Majority,
99% of them are fakers. They're not real. So therefore, Rabbatai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us now, without having any vision. There's no vision anymore. All we have is one thing, that we have the wisdom of the Torah, we have the guidelines of the Torah, and we have to follow that. And if we do, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring the Geulah Shlema, B'ezrat Hashem, b'mehera v'yameinu amen. Chazak u'baruch, ta'ala tov. Have an easy fast.
Easy fast. When is the fasting day?
Sunday.
Starts Saturday night.
Question,
I'm sorry. We're paying for so many sins and everything else.